Hey, Mihail. How's it going?
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
ready
Good
for this?
evening.
Good morning, depending on where you are in the world. So, ready for this great session we're going to have with these folks, showing them how to use Fabric?
Hope we will have a great session and
Yeah.
many people will enjoy about Microsoft Fabric, how to start and how to use Lakehouses in Microsoft Fabric.
All right.
Several things about this session. Actually, this session is part of initiative learning about Microsoft Fabric. You can use these links and barcodes to check trainings in Microsoft Learn and to play demos and to grow your experience related to Microsoft Fabric. So, Trep, I think that uh, it is better to start with you and
Okay.
what exactly you're doing.
So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Treb Gott. Yes, that's a real name. My father was ahead of the curve on personal branding. I'm a 5-year data platform MVP, and prior to that, I was 5 years Office MVP. I'm also CEO of a company called Marquee Insights based here in Redmond, Washington, USA. Mihail, how about you?
My name is Mihail Mateev. I'm from Bulgaria on the opposite side of the world. I work with Microsoft Azure and data platform for many years, maybe from the beginning of technology. I'm mostly focused on technology consulting and solution architecture, have independent consulting company, and also I'm Microsoft MVP and member of the Microsoft Regional Director Program. And of course, I'm happy to be here in this show together with you, Trep.
Yeah, same here. We're going to have a lot of fun with this session, I think. We're going to show them some good stuff. We're going to have a good demo. Life is going to be grand. And please, please, please ask us questions in the chat. We have our two moderators, which we'll introduce next. And I'll let you go ahead.
Yes, say hi to our moderators. This is Ribayat Asmin and Stephanie Bruno. They will support all attendees' questions, and we will be able, with their help, of course, to answer these questions in the best way. And if you have some specific notes additionally, please go ahead and our moderators will help you.
All right.
So again, reminder, we have uh, two interactive courses in Microsoft Learn, and you are able to pass these courses. Don't wait after this session. If you are interested in Microsoft Fabric, just jump into these courses, make the demos, and after that, you will be much more aware about Microsoft Fabric and how to use it with all benefits for your future knowing details about this platform. Also, when you have any questions, just add it to the chat. If we don't see it immediately, our moderators will help and we will answer these questions in the first possible option during these sessions or at the end. Another interesting information, actually, maybe you know about Cloud Skills Challenge. Cloud Skills Challenge is Microsoft initiative, and now Cloud Skills Challenge also includes Fabric Analytics Engineer. So you are able to start this challenge where you have more than 13 hours learning materials. And if you cover these materials, you will be able to have discount for exam for DP 600. I think it is on the next slide.
Yes. Who doesn't like discounts? I mean, 50% off. Got to do this.
Yeah, you just need to learn. You just need to cover this content related to Microsoft Fabric. So don't wait. You can start this after our session. And after that, you can schedule your exam, certification exam, with 50% discount. Maybe you know that actually Fabric experts will be very interesting roles. Microsoft Fabric Analytics Engineers Associate certification will help you to be in role of data engineer using Microsoft Fabric. You will be able to have many interesting opportunities, and of course you will be accepted with very well attractive with very attractive salary. Another interesting thing, you should follow the schedule related to other sessions related to Learn Life Microsoft Fabric Wave 1. Today is the first one related to get started with end-to-end analytics and lakehouses in Microsoft Fabric, but tomorrow you will have the next one about how to use Apache Spark in Microsoft Fabric, and there will be several more sessions for the next 15 days. So don't wait to subscribe for these sessions. There are many interesting details, and you can learn a lot from all these events.
Don't
So
forget about the exam cram, because we're not only giving you the discount code and all the free training, but we have review session coming up on February 13th to go back through the concepts to make sure you're ready for your certification. So here's your
thank you, Trep.
chance. Go for it. Yes.
So
Alrighty.
let's continue with introduction to end-to-end analytics using Microsoft Fabric. It is actually the first session related to Microsoft Fabric Learning Initiative, and we will start with the main things. What is Microsoft Fabric, and what we have like main components there. So the main objectives are to describe end-to-end analytics with Microsoft Fabric. We will talk about core features and capabilities related to lakehouses in Microsoft Fabric. We will see how to create a lakehouse. Trep will do a very interesting demo. And the second part of this session, we will see how to ingest data into files and tables in a lakehouse, and how to query lakehouse tables with SQL. For these skills, we will have content which we will describe, plus demo which will be performed from Trep. So what is Microsoft Fabric? Microsoft Fabric is an end-to-end analytics platform that provides single integrated environment for data professional and business people to collaborate on data project. Actually, it is a business layer on top of several different technologies which allow people with different focus and different skills to collaborate easy in teams, and to um, make almost everything possible around data platform and analytics with quite easy learning curve. Um, Microsoft Fabric actually is focused to solve several customer problems related to integration of various data capabilities to create holistic solutions, because usually these kind of tasks take a lot of work. So if you need to make solution where from your sources to have structure which is easy to use for different reports and analysis, usually you have a lot of work using different technologies. knowledge about different types of products. But here in Microsoft Fabric, you can do this with actually one common platform without need to know deep some details how different products need to be integrated in between. Another interesting thing is data movement, because usually if you have solutions where you need to have data sources, different ETLs, and reporting and analytics. Using all these data transformations, you have duplication of data. This duplication of data takes effort without business value, additional space, and additional work for implementation that probably can be optimized just using Microsoft Fabric. And fragmented solutions usually were very hard to manage and they are costly. I think here Trep can add some interesting insights about Microsoft Fabric and how with Microsoft Fabric can solve some cases. Trep?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of interest in this. When Arun announced Fabric, I was in the room there at the conference, and one of the stories he tells was one of the CIOs was telling him, "I don't want to be the chief integration officer anymore. I want to be the chief information officer." And that was one of the key problems that Fabric was trying to solve was let's stop moving data everywhere. Let's make it where we have one source of the truth. And in order to do that, they had to basically rewrite a lot of the products. So as we dig into this, you're going to see a single storage level called OneLake that we're going to introduce in a moment. We're going to talk about how the updates to the compute engine were done. But realistically, now that AI has become such a massive demand for people with generative AI and whatnot, we're seeing a lot of end-to-end solutions where say we're getting in emails from customer service, we have attachments. Well, now we can drop those off into blob storage and ingest them into Fabric and then do our real-time analytics on this information. We can drive other actions from this. So Fabric is becoming part of the heart of many operations as we're seeing customers adopt this. So not only are they getting value from the data stack, but they're getting much more value from being able to integrate it with the rest of the Microsoft stack that's out there, especially AI.
Thank you very much for these notes. And let's see what we have in Microsoft Fabric. So we have different functionality, and these functionalities are related to products which can be used sometimes independently, but in Microsoft Fabric you have everything together. As Trep already explained, we have one lake. This is storage, which we will discuss a little bit later. We are able to have data integrations with data factory functionalities. We have integrated different functionalities which comes from Synapse related to data transformation, data warehousing, machine learning and data science, and analysis at real time for different events. You have Power BI integrated in Microsoft Fabric, so you're able to use Power BI and the same platform and to have full functionalities coming from Power BI. And you have data activator. It is one interesting component which actually is used for triggering of different flows with logic when something in your data happened and you set up in a specific way this trigger. So these components can be grouped in a more structured way because we have functionalities related to moving data and transformation. Here we have data factory functionalities for data integration. We have different options for transformation with data engineering, and opportunities to use data warehouse. All these components, which we use usually in different ETLs, you have ready for use in Microsoft Fabric, and you have no need to set up it. You have no need to know in details how to configure these components. Analytics is very important. Analytics includes real-time analytics for events where functionalities coming from Synapse helps to manage this. Business intelligence with Power BI, and as I already mentioned, observability with Data Activator, where you can trigger different flows based on specific conditions using this component. And we should not forget also data science. We can use machine learning and data science in Microsoft Fabric based on Synapse functionalities.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, Trep?
Here's the UI. Here's the
Oh,
UI. We keep talking about the product. It's like it'd be nice to actually see it, and here it is. So
yeah, you will see a lot of interesting functionalities from Trap Demo here. You have one landing page, and you have no need to look for some components in complex user interface. It is pretty easy to start. There are several things which is good to mention here. You will see a little later that we are providing information how to start with Microsoft Fabric, and if you have no Fabric license, you can use trial license. Trial is 60-day active, and you can use all all Microsoft Fabric functionalities. In case you are already using Power BI licenses, especially if you are using Power BI trial, there could be situation where you are not eligible to start with Microsoft Fabric trial. You need to cancel Power BI trials or to make your trial with different user. So this is something specific that many people who are experimenting with Microsoft Data Platform face it and ask it in different conversation. So it is good to know about these details. Also, it is good to know that Microsoft Fabric have very specific um, capacity pricing model, which is slightly different than Power BI capacity model. So here maybe Trep can add some details because topic is very interesting, and many users also asking about how to analyze the price and what they can do, what they can expect as pricing from Microsoft Fabric.
So yeah, we've been getting the question a lot about, so how is this different from the Power BI capacities? How do we figure out what our costs are going to be, and what are the storage limits? That's one of the other big questions that we've had, because Power BI, we always had these storage limits around, certain capacities depending on which level you were on. So the way to think about Fabric is there's really two levels of licensing. One is the compute itself. And so we've got actually more graduated versions of the compute than we had with Power BI. So if I wanted a small capacity just for demos, training, that sort of thing, I'd probably get an F2 versus an F64, which is the equivalent of a P1 in Power BI. Now, people have noted, well, the compute seems more expensive. Well, yes and no. So the difference is that with the Power BI compute, it's always on 24/7, and you really don't have a way to bring that up or down. Whereas with the Fabric compute, you can actually, pause it or fold it, as I like to say, because we're putting away the Fabric. Uh, but basically, you can decide when you want to use it, and that way you're only getting charged for when you actually are utilizing the service. That way you can actually have the equivalent of a P1, but actually make it cheaper if you manage it correctly. The other thing to be aware of is you do pay for storage with Fabric. So it's basically the ADLS, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 pricing, but you're paying for that. So depending on how much data you're pushing in there and how much you're storing it, your limit is essentially how much are you willing to pay for it, basically. So just be aware that there's really two bills when it comes to this. And this is different than what we've had on the Power BI side. So when you're making the determination for your organization, make sure you're aware of all these factors and pick the one that best meets your needs. So hopefully that solves a lot of questions that we've had come up.
Yeah, thank you for the notes, Trap. And
Yep.
you can use both Power BI and Data Factory capacity in uh, Microsoft Fabric. Sorry, in Microsoft Fabric capacity in Microsoft Fabric. So any kind of premium capacity related to data analytics can be used with Microsoft Fabric. So this is the case where some people are a little bit confusing how to calculate the capacity because depends on which type of premium capacity they're using. Calculations can be different, but everything can be used in the same platform. So
Yep.
everything can be in Microsoft Fabric, and this is actually the best thing. You have everything in one common environment.
Yeah.
So let's continue with One Lake. What is One Lake? What One Lake actually is a layer built on top of data lake storage, and we have here using of different structured and non-structured formats like Delta Parquet, Parquet, CSV, JSON, and others. What is interesting here, because we mentioned already Delta Parquet, actually here we have implementation where we can have some advanced features plus providing of history. History is very important because when we have end-to-end analytics, uh, very often we need to have different transformation and we need to keep history of our data. But this is made optimized in Microsoft Fabric, and you have no need to have custom implementation with many duplication of your data. This is maybe one of the most interesting elements, and how to work with Microsoft Fabric is also something very interesting because you can have uh, different uh, teams with different experts using uh, some of components in Microsoft Fabric. For data engineers, we have everything related to transformations, data warehousing, and here you can use features from Synapse and Data Factory. It depends on your case and what is more appropriate. You can use Azure Machine Learning and other Azure AI components for data scientists. You have for data analysts Power BI, warehousing, and real-time analytics. And you can have on decision maker level reporting and presentation using Power BI and Microsoft 365. I think here Trap also have interesting story to mention.
Well, even though Microsoft has divided up these features by role, I mean, these are standard roles that they have, and actually a lot of these align to job descriptions. So you might want to take advantage of that if you're looking for a new job. These are the things you might want to search on. But be aware, in most organizations, these are not different people. In fact, if you glom all of this onto one person, you're going to wind up like me having to wear a hat because I have no hair left because I'm pulling it out. But I've seen teams split up that do just data engineering, but these are usually in 200,000 person organizations. A lot of smaller companies, which are going to be adopting Fabric, are going to have people who are going to be doing a data engineering function. They're going to be doing a data analysis function, and then they're going to feed data to their decision makers. You'll also note we have Office 365 and Azure ML in here, and these are highlighted in yellow because they're not part of Fabric. And so we want to make sure that, you know, it goes beyond just Fabric. We're integrating this with other things. But just because we have this outlined the way it is doesn't mean you have to have 4 people or 5 people. Same thing with the data stewards at the bottom. We have the purview emblem here because that is another area of interest. If you're working with HIPAA data, if you're working with any sort of PII data, you want to ensure that you have the appropriate safeguards and governance in place. We had some questions around the My Workspace. Can we turn that off? It's always a very common question with Power BI. There's reasons why you need the My Workspace. People need a way to have their own personal reporting. But if you have the right data steward functionality in place, you can help prevent these types of data. Like we've worked with the military before. There's definitely information you don't want out, in non-official spaces and whatnot. And it's usually through these data steward applications like Purview that you help control that. So again, this is the way Microsoft talks about it, but this isn't necessarily the way you would implement it within your organization. So, and Mihail, did you see the note about your mic? Because we're getting this real clipping. If you can just move it out a little bit, that would help.
Let's see.
Yeah. Okay. Just passing that on.
Okay. Yes. It is something
Better.
which is interesting. Yes. Let's highlight differences between default warehouse and lakehouse.
We're going to go
I-
through that in a little bit when we get. So we're doing an intro to the lake house, and we have a chart in there. We're going to highlight some of the differences and some of the commonalities between them. There is an upcoming session where they're going to do a deep dive in this functionality as well. So hopefully we can answer your question here. If not, then I would suggest also attending the deep dive because they will go extremely deep into this as well. Make sense?
Perfect. Okay. Let's now see how to enable and use Microsoft Fabric, because everyone wants from the beginning to have available these features. So if we are talking about organizations, Fabric must be enabled from tenant admins, usually Fabric admin, or Power Platform admin, or Microsoft 365 admin. It is not possible separate users in organization if Microsoft Fabric is not allowed with their organization emails to start to see Microsoft Fabric features. And also for workspaces, you need to have assigned capacity for these workspaces. And here we have 3 different options: Fabric capacity, trial, which is again Fabric capacity but trial, and also we have options to use Power BI capacity. Here Trep already explained details for differences between Power BI capacity and Fabric capacity. In Fabric capacity, we have a slightly different pricing model where we can split storage from compute, and we have, of course, options to use some different tars. Also, it is good to consider here that Power BI premium capacity based on Power BI embedded, that means to use Azure service, for premium capacity, works also good with Microsoft Fabric. You can use it also in this way. So when you are admin of the organization, you need to go to the admin portal, and for tenant settings, you need to enable Microsoft Fabric. You can have specific policies. It could be for the entire organization. It could be for some groups. You can make filtering of the users who are able to use Microsoft Fabric, and it depends on organization policies, of course. So we are now for the first time in this session checking several specific cases. In our knowledge check, you are able to use this link to make the pool. We
Yeah,
have
this is the first
three,
of several.
first of several. We have three questions here for this content, and let's start with the first one. Um, which of the following is a key benefit of using Microsoft Fabric in data project? And we have three answers, very similar to what you have for certification exams. Actually, these questions demonstrate the way of experience which you have taking certification exams. So we have here three answers. Answer A: it allows data professional to work on data projects independently without the need for collaboration. Um, Answer B is it requires duplication of data across different systems and teams to ensure data availability. And C, it provides a single integrated environment for data professionals and the business to collaborate on data projects. So you have a little time to
Yeah, they're definitely voting. So we've got it's looking like there's a definite trend here. So I would go ahead, let's show them the answer because we've tried to reinforce these answers to these questions throughout the presentation. So let's go ahead and show them because it looks like there's definitely a we've stabilized on the voting, and I think there's definitely a consensus here. So let's go ahead and click the button and show them.
okay.
There you
So
go. It's C.
yeah, we already mentioned this in our session. Microsoft Fabric provides single integrated environment for data professionals and the business to collaborate on data projects. So this is the right answer. Let's go to the next question.
So 97.9% of the folks got that one right. So let's see if we
Yeah,
can do
it's
better on this
amazing.
one.
So the next question is related to the storage. What is the default storage format for Fabric Swan Lake? And we have three options: Delta Parquet, JSON, and CSV. We can use all these formats, but which one is the default?
There can only be one. So we're still seeing a lot of votes still coming in. So please, please, please use the aka.ms polls. You should have seen a link for this. And we're getting there. We're going to give you another 5 seconds, say. Get your vote in. Ooh, we got a few people changing votes. That's interesting. Okay. All right, going once, going
Okay.
twice. All right, and let's show them the answer. Delta
Yeah, the right
Parquet.
answer.
Yeah,
We already mentioned that Delta Parquet is actually the default format, and it is actually done on the on the based on Parquet format because you need to have history. You need to have some additional features that are very important for one lake, and you can have it with Delta Parquet. So let's see the third question.
Yes.
Which of the following Fabric workloads is used to move and transform data? So we have three workloads here: A, data science; B, data warehousing; and C, data factory. Which one is used to move and transform data?
And its primary use case is to move data. We realize you can move data in pretty much all of these, but which is the one that's primarily used to move and transform data? So I had somebody question the question on this previously. So we got a little bit more spread on this one. It's interesting. So still got them coming in. Uh, okay, I think we've got most of the votes already. There's definitely a focus on one area. So going once, going twice, and there you go. Data factory.
Okay, we have actually most of answers correct here. That's perfect. And
Mhm.
all attendees are very active. So it is really exciting.
We're averaging about 96% correct. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Now we're going to
So,
talk about lake houses.
yeah, Lakehouses will be explained from Trep, and Trep will do after this part one very interesting demo. So, Trep, please go ahead.
All right. Well, and hopefully I'll make you dangerous with the lake houses and fabric. So uh, this is intended to be a very high level, what is this thing? Why do I care? When would I use it? That sort of thing. So we're setting the stage for later sessions where they're going to go much deeper. The main thing we want to leave you with is why did we come up with this and what is the terminology and whatnot? So given that, let me get on the right slide here. Let's talk about what is a lake house. So way back in the day, we had data lakes, which were really good for unstructured data, loosely structured data, some structured data. They're very performant, but there were a lot of things missing from them. We didn't have like, even though they were very scalable and they could be distributed, and they were definitely very useful for big data. We didn't have some of the data warehouse features in there, so we weren't able really to use SQL against it. At least my experience has been, and you really needed the best of both worlds. So when you look at what they did here with, we had data warehousing where it's very structured, very curated. We really needed data from both. So what they did is they took the best of both and they said, we're in creating the lake house. So essentially taking the lake and the house from each of them. We're creating this what so this is what is on top of the one lake scalable storage level, and then they rewrote the compute engines for Spark and SQL to talk to the lakehouse. And because the lakehouse is using Delta Parquet as its core uh, format, we not only get what the original was, but we get all of the history as well. Yeah, sorry, we're going the wrong way. One more. So you'll see these listed at the bottom here of like, here are the primary things, but basically it's combining the best of both worlds. Now, I think there's been some concern that if I'm using just the traditional data warehouse, I may have more functionality versus what's in Fabric. I would say that we've just gone GA, where it's like the first version of this. There are some discrepancies at the moment, which we'll cover. We have a table that we go through, we cover this, but understand this product is still being actively worked on and developed. So stay tuned. What is different today might not be different in a month from now or 2 months from now. Uh, Likely, you're going to be learning. You're going to be taking some time to go through this process, and you'll be, doing some experimentations in the process. So we want to make sure that you're ready for that. So on the next slide, we're going to look at specifically how is this different? So the Lakehouse, these are the four things that the Lakehouse really did for us. So it presents its database. Now, the cool thing about all this, and one of the things you'll see as we go through the Lakehouse functionality, is that Microsoft was trying very hard to help you leverage the skills you already had. So if you were coming from a Power BI background, or if you're coming from a data warehousing background, the UI is going to look familiar. So all of those UI changes we were going through over last year, perhaps a little bit further back, were in order to align to the new Fabric UI so that it didn't shock you when you first went into it. And the nice thing about the Lakehouse is that both Spark and SQL can use the same data. And it really helps us when we're trying to integrate this with other products like Azure ML. Uh, One of the other things that we've gotten from the data lake side is we can define the schema on read. So personally, I've worked with a lot of what I would call legacy data. Maybe it's a great way to put it, because we have systems that have been in place for 40 years that they've written in COBOL or whatnot, and they use a lot of smart coding. So, digits 1 through 3 meant this, and 4 through 7 meant this other thing. And but sometimes you need the whole thing. But we can actually define that schema on read now, depending on the use case. We're not locked into it the way we were with the data warehouse all the time. Also, we get ACID for the Lakehouse, which data lakes really didn't have it this as strongly as the data warehouse, where and there's still some differences here, which we'll go through, but we want to make sure that the integrity of the data is maintained throughout. And again, because we're not moving data around, we don't have those delays of, oh, I haven't gotten the data yet from this other team. It's all in one location. So we realize that most data people are introverts, but sometimes we do need to collaborate with other people. And now your people in the engineering role, the scientist role, and the analysis role can work together off the same copy of the data. So I think overall it's a good thing. So in the next slide, we're going to show you a table on when you're looking to choose a data store, some of the things to be aware of. So we're taking this from the perspective of if you're in Power BI, hopefully you've been using the Data Mart facility. We have seen a lot of people using this, especially in environments that are Mac based, because frankly, they don't have the desktop to work with, and they have to use data flows, and they use the data mart, and then they're using the web-based report facility to create the reporting. So we see a lot of uptake with data marts in Mac environments, but it is a very useful thing. It's very easy to access. You can build these using your Power BI skills, but you are limited into the amount of storage that you can have here. On the flip side, you have the data warehouse folks, the traditional data warehouse, they're coming in. So when you look at these tables, we've tried to highlight where things are different. Usually in the data warehouse world, you were limited to SQL. You do have multi-table transactions. That's something we don't yet have in the Lakehouse, but it's, again, stay tuned. The level of security is a little bit different. Again, stay tuned. I know there's been announcements around this, but there is more to come on this. This is something that's still coming. And we're going to talk about shortcuts in a minute. Like, can this be a shortcut source? Note, this is one place where the data mart doesn't give you that ability. But again, what I would suggest is if you're coming from either of these, take a look at the Lakehouse, because long term, that is where you want to be. And also note that the skill set is a superset of all of these skills. So if you live in data flows, if you're comfortable with Power Query, you can use Lakehouse, no problem. If you love your SQL, we're going to show you how to use the Lakehouse in SQL mode, and you could party with T-SQL all you want there. So you'll be comfortable using the skills you already have. And so we'll take you through all of that. Now, in our next slide, we're going to take you through working with the Lakehouse itself. And so in the next slide, we're going to say, what happens when I create a Lakehouse? The thing about this, it sounds imposing. It's really not. They've actually made the process very simple. In fact, one of the cool things that happens when you create a lakehouse is you get not only the lakehouse created for you, so it's already ready to accept data, the storage, the metadata, all that's there, but it also gives you two endpoints out of the box. So remember a few months ago when data sets got renamed to semantic models in Power BI? Well, this is why. It was to align it to the Fabric terminology. So When we create the Lakehouse, a default semantic model is created for you that you can plug Power BI directly to. In fact, in the exercise I'm going to take you through, we will show you how to create a basic report there. Also, if you prefer to run SQL queries against it, you get a SQL endpoint right off the bat and you're ready to go. So when I create the Lakehouse in the exercise, you're going to see both of these things show up almost automatically. It takes about a minute or two, usually. Fingers crossed, the demo gods be willing today. And we'll show you how to work with both of those. So in the next slide, I show you what this will look like. So if you're familiar with the workspaces, you've used workspaces using Power BI or Synapse or the other products, you're going to see this sort of tree structure. So where you see the Lakehouse entity there at the top, and then you see your semantic model and oh, I forgot, the SQL endpoint got renamed this week to SQL Analytics endpoint. So sometimes if you're looking through the documentation, the language hasn't quite been updated everywhere yet, but that's the thing it's referring to. One note that I will pass on to you when you're working with Fabric, if you're looking for an option, and this is true of all of the exercises, look for the ellipsis menu. Those three dots hide most of the good stuff that you're looking for. So as I go through the exercise, you're going to see this over and over again. I'm always having to go to the ellipsis menu. And once we do that, we're going to ingest data in the Lakehouse. So the next slide, I talk about the different ways that you can do this. Now, in the demo we're going to do, I'm going to upload a CSV file into here. And I'm also going to show you how you can go wrong with the exercise with the way it's currently set up because some web behavior, but I'll take you through that. Most people, though, I think will be using either data flows, pipelines, or notebooks. And I have a table coming up where we're going to show you the differences between those. But these are the most common ways that people will be ingesting data into their lakehouse. So again, if I'm more Power BI based, I love Power Query, that kind of thing, probably data flows are going to be the way you want to go there. If I'm a Python god and I just live and breathe Python, notebooks are my jam. That's really where I'm going to be, focusing my time. And if I'm more inclined from the data warehouse side, I may be using data flows. I might be using pipelines. It really depends on your skill set and what your organization is used to using. But again, we're giving you these alternatives so that you can reuse the knowledge you already have and then expand to learn the others. So you have some flexibility here. Let's talk about shortcuts. So let's go to the next slide here, because I briefly mentioned it. One of the mantras for the Lakehouse has always been, we don't want to move the data. Well, what happens if the data isn't in the Lakehouse? How do I get to it? So they have this functionality called shortcuts. And essentially what the shortcut does, it's a pointer to an external data source, external to the Lakehouse, and it allows you to use it as if it was part of the Lakehouse. So this could be another Lakehouse that you have in one lake somewhere else. It could be ADLS storage somewhere within the org. It can also be AWS storage at the moment. So again, this is where we stand today, and I'll show you the wizard when we go through the demo. But understand, it's still being worked on. If there's more that you want shortcuts to connect to, please, go to ideas.fabric.com and fill out, vote on these ideas. One thing I will note about shortcuts is there are, if you're using AWS, I think there are egress fees that you should be aware of from a licensing standpoint. So just look at the cost there. Don't assume that the Fabric compute and storage cover everything, that if you're moving data in and out of the Microsoft ecosystem, typically there are charges there as well. But again, these shortcuts then work with all the compute engines and allow you to work with them just like you do any other data source. So when we look at the table in the next slide, I'm going to show you, realistically, this is how it breaks down. Now, so your pipelines, again, you're usually using SQL, JSON. It's a low, no-code environment, but you can pump a whole lot of data through this, I have to say. Same thing with data flows. I think it's a slightly different skill set. It's still SQL, but maybe you're leaning more on Power Query this time. And you have a lot more connectors than you did in pipelines. So you have more options. We see data flows being used a lot with Office 365. So if you're trying to move data from, say, list or something like that, you would use a data flow for that. If you're in the Spark world where you, again, using Python, well, you've got hundreds of Spark libraries that you can choose from to do these types of activities. But you're basically coding at that point. So we claim that to be pro code. But all of these will work with the Lakehouse as it is. So I think we're good to go there. Now, is everybody ready to actually see this in action? What do you think? All ready to come with me here? All right, I'm going to do my best Patrick LeBlanc uh, impression and go to the keyboard. What do you think? All right, so what you're seeing here is the Power BI interface. And I show you this because it's the same depending on which entry point you're coming into, but you can actually get to things here. So realistically, if I went to a workspace here, there is a way to create a lakehouse in Power BI. I'm not suggesting you do it here because there's a lot more clicks, but you can do it. Really what we're looking for is this icon at the bottom. So as we showed you earlier, when you have Fabric enabled, you will see this particular thing show up. Now, in the exercises, you'll see it say Synapse Data Engineering. Well, Synapse is the grouping. So basically, you're looking for data engineering here. But I can also go to the Fabric homepage, so you can see it full color, live and in your face, mainly because the documentation is here and the community links are here. So this is a good one to go to. But you'll have the same experience. So I click there. And the exercises that are in the modules start you with creating a workspace, creating a lakehouse, that sort of thing. So we're going to go through that process. Now, one of the things that I have seen people do, they come in here and the first thing they want to do is press lakehouse because there's this massive tile right here. Don't do that because the reason is you're up here. You see this thing? It says current workspace is my workspace. So if I click lakehouse, guess what it wants to do? Apply a Fabric trial to your My Workspace. I'm thinking this is a bad idea, so let's not do that. Instead, let's make sure we have a dedicated workspace for the trial we're going to use for these exercises. So just like you do in other products, you go to the workspaces icon here in the left nav. You're going to go down to where it says New Workspace, and you're going to fill out this thing here. So, sorry, my other screen's misbehaving because, what we're going to do, we're going to call this for Fabric. And if I could spell or type today, I might be dangerous, but bear with me. In case you don't know, I type 140 words a minute, 80 words a minute forward, 60 words a minute backwards, trying to correct what I just typed. So there's the name. Please put a description into your production if you're like delete this in 90 days kind of thing. It's usually what I do for my trial stuff. But under the advanced, this is where you need to decide what the licensing mode is going to be. So because we're doing exercises, I'm going to stick with trial. If you were doing this for a production workspace, you would want to select either premium capacity if you're licensing through Power BI or Fabric capacity if you're licensing your compute through Fabric. And usually I'm leaving this alone and we're not doing a template app. So again, I put in a name and I select a trial as a basic, and that's all I need to get started with this exercise. So go ahead and click apply, and we'll get this lovely blank workspace. Voila, and there we go. So exciting, I know. Now let's go ahead and create our lake house. So again, very complex process here. I mean, yeah, it's going to take a while. No, actually, it's not. The hardest thing is actually finding the icon in the list. So you'll see it down here, lake house. It looks like a house with a bunch of waves in front of it. Kind of cute, huh? And we're going to call this, let's see, I'm going to do LH. No, you can't have, I tried doing spaces in the name, it doesn't like that. So we're just going to do this. And I'm going to use Contoso because it's Microsoft and everybody uses that. And click create. And that's it. That is how you create a lake house. And what's going on now is it's actually creating all the infrastructure that we need for the lake house. We're going to have the area for tables, area for files. It's creating our endpoints. So you see this banner pop up saying it's coming, just hang on a minute. And you'll see a banner pop up that says, oh, these endpoints are ready. And so as this is happening, we're going to wait a minute while it does that. But this will allow us then to start bringing data in. So see, there we go, created the SQL Analytics endpoint. So we've got that now. And let's see, it's not quite showing up here, but that's okay. We are ready to go. And no, I don't need the OneLake app. You can download that. The nice thing about the OneLake app is you can actually drag and drop from your desktop if you need to directly into OneLake. Now, we're going to upload a file. And in the exercise, there is a link to the file, which I want to show you here. And the reason being is I've had a few people get confused by this because they will come over here and they'll do the normal web thing and they'll say save link as. And the problem is if you look at this, it says sales.txt. So the default file type is text, and you're going, that's not right. And you can change it. I mean, I could do all files and then change the, the file extension, and that would work. But a lot of people are going to get confused by that. What's simpler though is to simply click the link. You'll see the content, and then do save as. Again, this is a usability tip, but then it picks the right file extension. So if you are deciding that you want to teach a session around this and you want to reuse this content, this is one of those areas people tend to trip over. And so I'm just pointing it out. I've already downloaded the file, so we're ready to pull that in. Now, looks like everything's ready for me here, so we're good to go. Now let's go ahead and bring our data into the Lakehouse. So the first thing I want to do though is I have this files area. So files is usually where you would bring in this type of semi-structured data, CSV file. I guess it's structured. So I'm going to create a subfolder in here. And the way to do that again is all the good stuff's under the ellipsis. Click that, and we're going to say new subfolder. So in this case, I'm just going to call it data, like so, and creates a folder. Voila. Now, make sure you select that folder, and under the ellipsis again, we're going to upload. And you can either do a folder or a file. In this case, I'm just going to do a file. But if you had multiple files, you can do the folder. You'll get this prompt. You can say whether or not you want to overwrite it if it already exists. Click here. I get my file explorer option, select the file, click open, fills it in for me, click upload. It's about 3 megs. This is going to go very fast, especially since I'm on a 1 gigabit connection here. And now my data is loaded. Easy. And in fact, if I want to see it, one of the cool features that we have about the Lakehouse is say something wonky happened and I want to see what actually came in. I can go in here and I can actually click on the file and get a preview. In fact, they give me this nice little slider here. I can go anywhere in the file to see it. All right, so we've got some data here. We're gonna do more with it in a moment. Now, I mentioned shortcuts earlier. Now, if you've ever worked with a gateway before, you may have seen some elements of this. I'm not going to go all the way through the experience. I just want to show it to you because I think they're going to cover this in more detail later. But if I go to the file menu here and I do new shortcut, you're going to see this thing come up where I can pick OneLake, ADLS, or Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, or Amazon S3 storage here. And if I click one of these, you get this thing that says, oh, here's my connection credentials, here's my settings. So again, if you've worked with Gateway before, if you've worked with a data flow on some of your data sources, this should look familiar. This isn't foreign territory for you. But they basically walk you through the process, and then it shows up in your Lakehouse as something you can easily work with. And so I think we're rocking along pretty well. Hopefully, everybody. How many wordsmiths? Yeah. So anyway, we could talk about my typing skills later, but you just bear with me here. Well, it's great I've got these files loaded, but now I actually want to put it into a format that I could do something with. So one of the things I'm going to do then is I'm going to go over here to the ellipsis on this file, and I want to make it a table. So we're going to say load to table. And because this is a new table, we'll just select that. We don't have any existing ones. And I can make it a different table name if I wish. I'm just going to leave it as sales. And in this case, I've already got header information in my CSV file, so I'll accept that. We didn't do anything weird with the separators, which I've seen before. Again, you need to test this, but we'll go ahead and load this. And so as this is loading this, what this is doing now is under the tables area, you will see a sales table show up. And once that happens, we can actually start to work with it. Now, It's also creating the Delta Parquet files underneath the covers for this table. So one of the things I'm going to do is show you how you can drill down into that to actually see those. And this could be something that's necessary if you're trying to debug a problem. And it's still thinking. There we go. Alrighty. So now you see my sales table showed up here. If I click it, I get the preview. I get the preview. I know I'm being impatient here, but usually it's faster. Showing 1,000 rows, just like Power Query does. So I can see, what all was loaded. Scroll through it. There's a lot of stuff that we can see here. If I expand this, I can actually see the schema. So that's something that you might want to. You can actually double check and make sure that's correct. And then if I click the ellipsis, again, all the good stuff's there. I can actually view the files underneath. And here is where I see the Parquet file, and then I see the Delta logs. So if I open that folder up, this is where I can actually drill down into what's actually in there right now. So right now we just have the default information. But again, this can be very, very useful to help debug a problem so that, if there's an issue, we want to make sure that we have clear access to it. The overall performance of this, I think, is pretty good. And again, we can have as many tables here as we wish. Now, hopefully, let's see. So I've been talking about everything I've been showing you has been in Lakehouse mode. So everything's point click, pretty much feels very Power Query like, I think, in some ways. But what happens if SQL is my thing? I really want to use this as in the SQL mode. So up here, there is a mode selector where it says Lakehouse. You get SQL Analytics endpoint. Now, when you do this, you're going to get an updated UI. So up here, we still have our button bar that we had before. One of the things, and you can expand this if you really want the full ribbon, but to use a collapsed ribbon instead, is the other thing I want to bring your attention to is actually this. We have new tabs at the bottom. So we're in data mode right now. We're going to go to query, and then later we're going to go into the model mode. So this, in some ways, feels like Power BI as well, but you just need to realize that sometimes you need to look down when they're talking about switching, because it's not obvious as to what you're doing there. So one of the things I'm going to do here is I want to actually query my sales table here, because this is what I need to do. And I have two options. I can either do a SQL query or a visual query. And we're going to go through each of these. And then after that, we're going to show you a new report. You can actually add measures here. So if you're going through DAX withdrawal, you can do it here. Now, I'm not going to go through that. Hopefully, they will cover that later. But you could do DAX here. Again, we're trying to make it where you have one source of the truth where everybody's using the same data. All right. So hopefully, let's see, no many questions. So we're good there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste in, as you've seen my typing. So I've already got, the magic of Notepad. I can paste in the query here and make sure we run it. So we're basically doing a select statement. We're going to sum up quantity times price. We're doing a calc so that we have a new derived column. And we're doing a group by item. So we're basically getting, so we're getting the revenue by item. And then we're ordering it by revenue descending. Basic query, nothing fancy here. And I can actually save this as a view if I need to. So that's the other thing, is because we've got this sort of warehouse view, if you will, we can do views, we can do functions, we can do stored procs. Excuse me. This should all feel very familiar. We can add this on top of the Lakehouse. So let me go ahead and run this. And we did have a question, or I've had a question prior to this that said, can I use SSMS to connect to this? And yes, if you get the information, and of course I'm drawing a blank on where to get the information from the UI, but yes, you can connect to this from SSMS and use that as well if you need to. And but this is, the results. And of course you have the download Excel file, because how many times have we been asked for that? But it's a lot easier to do this. You can explore the data if you wish, which is in preview. And then you can visualize the results. You can actually write a report directly off of this if you want to. So again, fairly straightforward, feels good, feels familiar. Now let's do a visual query, because I've had some questions going, what is that? And a visual query is essentially the new Power Query experience. So I can take the sales table, drag it over here, and voila, it writes all the stuff for me. So I've got the source, the date, which database, which table, already done for me. Easy, easy, easy. So we're doing good there. But I've got all these columns and there's a bunch of stuff going on here that, maybe I don't want to have happen. So let's start off with managing the columns. Let's choose the columns we want here. And so I'm going to go over here and just like we do in Power Query, first thing I'm going to do is uncheck the select all because I don't need everything. I just need the first two. Thankfully, they've made that simple. And we're going to do sales order and sales order line number like so. Well, looking good. We've got our two things here. So now let's do a group by. Well, a group by is a transform action. So we'll do group by. We could do replace. We could do all kinds of stuff. And again, same kind of thing as I have in Power Query. I have both basic and advanced options here because we're doing a very basic thing here. We'll just do group by sales order number. We're going to create a new column, not count, but we're going to call this line items. Again, my lovely typing and action here. And then let's go ahead and count distinct values. How about that? And then sales order line number. So we've got everything we need to do the grouping. We are not doing fuzzy grouping, even though if you really need to, again, you have that capability here. Go ahead, click OK. And we run and run and run. And here we go. So again, performance is good. We're getting the results. We could work with this. There's a lot of things that we can do here. And so hopefully this is making sense to you, that this feels familiar, feels like, something I could do. And again, if you look at the options up here, I know this is organized a little bit differently than maybe we're used to, but we have a lot of the same things that we could do in Power Query up here, except now we could save as a view. We can do, I think it's actually more powerful than what we had before. And if you have a really big monitor, you can make this full screen, which is my favorite feature because, it's great that I'm looking at this little window, but sometimes I want to see the whole thing. All right, let's go back and I want to go here. So I want to show you this because this one also confuses people a bit. So we're switching to the model view. And the first thing that happens when you go into the model view is you see all these tables like exec request history, frequently run queries, long run query. Like, wait, I didn't bring any of that in here. What is all this? Do yourself a favor. Down here, you have some more tabs, and the default dataset objects is what you want. This is your tables. So these other tables are generated automatically by the Lakehouse to give you information for monitoring and such. You really want the default dataset objects to utilize your table to do whatever you need to do. And so you can set up your relationships and do whatever. And let me get rid of this message. There we go. So what I want to do here is I want to actually create a new report. And thankfully, there's a nice little button up here that allows me to do that. So we'll create that. And this will then open up the Power BI web experience. And so the first thing I'm going to do is collapse the filters because I don't really need that. I do need sales though. So one of the things I'm going to do here is I want to do sales and quantity. I want to see which item is selling the most. And by default, it gives me this nice table, which is interesting. It's usable, but I'm not feeling it. It's not really telling me the story. So let's not do this. In fact, if you do this, I will find you and I will slap you with a ruler because I see too many people doing this. I'm passing this on because I've seen too many things lately with people using pie charts for too many values. The biggest problem with these pie donut charts is they force you to do comparison by area, which is 2 dimensions, and our eyes are not designed to do that very accurately. In fact, we misread it about 29% of the time. It's better if you use a stacked bar chart because then we're doing a one-dimensional comparison where our eyes can detect as small as a 2-pixel variance in length. So this is what we're looking for, and this tells the story of what we were trying to do, which is what is our most sold product, which is the water bottle, followed by the patch kit, followed by tires, which is kind of interesting, and then a helmet's number 5. And again, I could do a top 5, top 10 here, but I'm doing all this on the web, and I've done all this from a lake house that I was able to put together. One of the other areas that you might want to consider using this for is what I call micro data sets. Uh, we used to have access for this in Fox Pro before that, if you go back that far. But a lot of people are now using Excel spreadsheets and SharePoint lists, which, for better or for worse, it's what they have. And one of the use cases you might want to consider is actually making Fabric available for people to use this, to do this type of reporting on data sets that are like 50,000 rows or less, and could actually just be one big wide table. Otherwise, they wind up in Excel, and that causes some other challenges as well. Or you can dump Excel in here as well. So at this point, I've got a report. We're going to go ahead. I'm just going to save this. So I think it's good. So I'll do File, Save, and we'll call this item sales report. Now, if you're not familiar with this is the new multitasking toolbar that's here on the left side, and it will continue to grow, but allows me to flip back and forth between the different things very quickly. So we've had people get a bit confused by this. Let me get back to my report or to my workspace. So again, I can close things out pretty easily. I can, determine which things I need to work with, but it makes it very easy to work with this. So I'm going to go back to my workspace, and now you see everything we've created all in one workspace. Should feel familiar from the various experiences, and this is the exercise. So one of the things we were trying to do here is not only take you through these modules, which, by the way, if you were at Ignite and you started these modules way back then and forgot to finish them, chances are you still could get credit for that work as part of this experience for the 30 days to get the 50% off. But this is what you'll be creating as part of this exercise for these modules. Again, this helps you get through these fairly quickly. Now, let me break for a moment. Are there any questions for me at this point, Matt? Doesn't look like I've got anything coming through just yet. Got a lot of comments though. Ooh. Mostly handled. Okay, moderator. Our moderators are amazing. So thank you so much. Mihail, do you have anything you want to add as I'm wrapping up the exercise here?
I think that you cover everything, and it is time for knowledge check.
Yes, and like we didn't tell you that ahead of time that there are tests involved, but we're going to do a knowledge check now. So let's go ahead and do that. So if Matt can switch us back to Mihail's screen, we can quiz you on what you just saw.
Okay, let's go to first question. Actually, question 4, because we have two different lessons today. What is a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse? And we have three options. A relational database based on the Microsoft SQL Server database engine. B, a hierarchy of folders and files in Azure Data Lake Store Gen 2. And C, an analytical store that combines the file storage flexibility of Data Lake with the SQL-based query capabilities of data warehouses. So let's see how the poll is going.
Yeah, come on, folks. We need to vote here. We're a little low on votes compared to last time. We're seeing some trends. Looks like we got a few people who are thinking it's B. We got a lot of people thinking it's C. I think everybody's convinced it's not A, so we'll stick with that for the moment. And let's give you another 5 seconds, say. Do going once, going twice. All right, let's show them the answer because I think we're slowing down here.
Yeah, this is C. Analytical store that combines file storage flexibility of data lake with SQL-based query capabilities of a data warehouse. Let's go to the next question. You want to include data in an external Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 location in your lakehouse without the requirement to copy the data. What should you do? Answer A. Create a data pipeline that uses a copy data activity to load the external data into a file. B. create a shortcut. C, create a data flow chain tool that extracts the data and loads it into a table.
Remember, we do not want to move the data without the requirement to copy the data. In the first one, it says it uses a copy data activity. Interesting. And then a data flow. What does it do? It extracts the data and moves it. So what do you think the right answer is? Think we should show them? I think we should.
Okay, let's show the answer.
Yes.
B, create a shortcut. Actually, Trep explained many details about creating shortcuts in the second part of this session, and also you saw in the demo options how to use this.
Yes. Please
And
remember to use the polls link, by the way. I think we have one more question. Yeah.
let's see the last question. You want to use Apache Spark to interactively explore data in a file in Data Lakehouse. What should you do? Answer A, create a notebook. Answer B, switch to the SQL endpoint mode. And answer C, create a data flow chain tool.
So remember, we talked about Spark earlier, that if you're a Python god, this is where you live. So if you're going to use Spark and you're going to use Python, how do you normally put your Python in? So this is your hint. Do you normally do this in a T-SQL environment? Do you normally do this as a Power Query action? What do you think? Uh, and this is actually one of the hardest questions we ask you because of all the questions we do. This one always has the biggest spread. And I think it's mainly because I don't know how many people actually have done Python before. So I think we've stabilized here. I don't see many more votes coming in. But let's go ahead and show them the answer to this. Yeah.
So the correct answer is A, create a notebook. And this is everything related to questions. And we have a summary. Actually, Trep, do you want to explain more details about
Well,
everything?
yeah, I think what we should do is do the paperwork, if you will. Let's do our final slides, and then we'll do a Q&A because we've got a couple of good questions here that we're going to address. But I want to just leave it, let's recap, and then we'll cover questions. Sound like a plan? So
Okay.
yeah, so let's go ahead. Yeah, so just to reiterate, please use these links, use these QR codes to go in and ensure that you're following the exercises. Because again, if you go down and you use the link that we had, you'll get a 50% off, coupon for the certification test. And we want you to get certified. If you're new to data, we want to do everything in our power to help get you skilled up, open up these new opportunities for you. One of the things about AI is that AI is all about good data. And the way you're going to get good data is to have this ability to pull it into Fabric, make sure everything is the way it should be, that everything's been rationalized, and it's accessible. So do what you can to get skilled up there. On the next slide, we have the link again to the skills challenge. So make sure you take a photo of this, but you've got 30 days. Again, if you started doing some of this maybe during Ignite and never finished it, those courses, at least in my case, were still active. Like I still got credit for those. So you may have already gotten some stuff done and maybe you just need to finish it out. Also, I know on LinkedIn, there are people looking to create study groups. So find somebody in your network maybe that wants to get certified as well. Reach out to them, say, hey, let's get together, maybe once a week or so, review what we did, and just use your peers to help you get there. And then in the next slide, this is the first of many sessions. We've got a lot of more stuff coming in. So on Thursday, I think it is January 24th. Oh, tomorrow, we've got the Spark coming up, and then we have a number of these sessions coming up. I believe all of them are at the same time if you're attending this session versus the India time session, which is at 9 a.m. India time. So we have it for both sides of the world. And but this is the progression. And then on the 13th, there will be the cram jam that will allow you to, in 2 hours, to do a review of the process. And I think that's our last slide, isn't it?
Yep.
So let's look at the questions. So we've got the first question I see is, if you already have a Synapse instance, does it transfer automatically to Fabric? And I know for a fact it does. I don't believe it does. I think you have to manually move it. Mihail, do you have any experience in this area?
I think that it is not happen, but frankly, I never tried.
Yeah. From what I remember reading about this, again, uh, there unfortunately, it's a big product, and you don't. In my day to day, I have not been able to use every aspect of it. So some of these questions we may have to get back to you on. But my understanding was that if you had an existing Synapse instance, you have to manually move it to Fabric. It doesn't do it automatically. And what I would do in that situation, because it is a manual migration, is I would look at the features for both products, make sure they're comparable. Again, in any instance where you were looking to move capabilities to Fabric, look at the current capabilities and make sure they meet your requirements. It might be it's still too early. They haven't shipped something, so let's not create a problem for yourself later on. The let's see, does Data House does Lakehouse support Delta format or only Parquet? Actually, both, but I believe, but it prefers Delta. That is the default within there. The oh, let's look at the. We have a licensing question. Let's talk about that one, Mihail. Question about licensing and billing. How many Spark cores do we get based on the F capacity we choose? You mentioned earlier that the compute stops the meter after use, but how is that billed? The compute stops the meter after you pause the service, not after it runs. So you have to manage that. But as far as the number of cores, I'm drawing a blank on the Spark side. I know there is a web page that goes through all the various levels, and so if we could find that really quick, we'll post that. But otherwise, I would do a search. There is a listing that talks about the various levels, the various cores, and all of that information that's out there. And actually, ask Copilot. Bing Copilot should be able to find this for you very quickly. That's when I've used this for. The thoughts, best practices for bringing in data from on-prem SQL Server. Prefer not to bring it into Azure SQL DB or MI, maybe a Parquet file, then shortcut. Uh, On-prem, I don't know, Mihail, you've probably got more experience maybe with this than I do, but it's, I think there's still some work to be done there.
Not sure which will be the best one. Of course, we can make this import using some file format, but really it is an interesting question.
Yeah, it's on-prem. I think right now is still one of those areas that you may be a little early for where we are at Fabric, based on at least the readings and the experiences that I have. So I would start experimenting with it, but I would say you might want to take a look. And I think they don't have exactly what you need there just yet. I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but truthfully, again, it's a V1. They just went GA not too long ago, so there's still more features coming. And oh, this is a good one. Can we still develop Power BI apps from the desktop, or is it all online? No, you can totally connect to this from the desktop. Uh, if you're good with that, then continue using the desktop. If you want to use the online version, one of the things I would suggest for the online version to make it much easier to use is create a Power BI theme. Now, not just for the colors, but actually go through, preset all of the formatting options if you can for all of the inbox visuals. I know it's a bit of work, and we've done this for several clients, but what happens then is we've taken branding guides for several orgs, put them in these theme files, and then created a template for the online version. And so that when you open that report up and you drag a table on there, you drag a card over, it's already pre-formatted. And so we've seen people who used to take 6 hours to write a report and take 4 hours making it look, quote unquote, look right. And now they can write a report in a half hour or less. So I think it's a great investment of time is to actually go through and build out those types of themes. All right. Well, I think we're at a point where we need to wrap it up because I'm sure Matt wants to go home at some point, and because I know he was up late last night with the other sessions. So, Mihail, you have any parting thoughts for us here, or?
I have just several comments related to licensing questions because there is the following moment when we are talking about capacity, we are not talking about setup of the Spark. Capacity is actually measured relatively with capacity units, which is something implemented here for Microsoft Fabric. You know that there are different types of measurement units for different types of services, and actually you are able to have a relative estimation of the power related to computing in memory, but it is not up to um, Spark settings, because in one um, workspace you can have different services. You need to have one common measure, which is not actually related to one or another functionality, to one or another product, um, included in Microsoft Fabric. So it is something which we can discuss after the session. If you are interested to have more information about licensing and other details, always you can contact us. Our um, profiles in LinkedIn and social networks are available. So we are appreciating any initiative from your side to contact us and to talk more about Microsoft Fabric.
And we'll be at upcoming conferences as well. So if you haven't signed up for the upcoming Fabric conference, please do so. We're going to have some very interesting sessions in Las Vegas. And there's always user group meetings. If you're not part of a user group today, please check those out. And finally, join the community. We have one of the largest communities online for Fabric and Power BI. Please join those. And we have over, I think it's several million of posts now. So there's a huge knowledge base that you can draw upon. And with that, we're at time. So it's been a pleasure having you here. We've had a good time. Hopefully you have too. Mihail, it's been great presenting with you. So thank you very much. And I guess with that, we'll wrap it up. What do you think? We're good to go?
Thanks to everyone, and I was very happy to have this session with you, Trap.
Yes, same here, Mihail. So with that, y'all have a great day. And hopefully we'll see you soon in another session, conference, or user group meeting. Bye bye.
Enjoy next sessions.
Yes.